Hello, everyone, and thanks for coming. I'm Grace Van Mill, and I'd like to welcome you tonight on behalf of MCIC, the Manitoba Council for International Cooperation. We're happy to be back with you for another Local Brews and Global Views discussion night. As we begin, I want to acknowledge that I'm hosting this event from Winnipeg in Treaty 1 territory, which is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples. And of course, we're on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We're grateful for the chance to host this event, and thanks for joining. So this evening's discussion, if you haven't joined before, is going to be done webinar style. So you'll be able to see any speakers, and ask any questions through our Q&A section. You can see here on my screen how to do that. You just click the Q&A box and ask any questions away. Ask away any questions that you have. We have closed captioning available this evening as well. So if you'd like that, there's a button at the bottom that you can toggle it on and off. It says CC or live transcript, I believe. So when you put your questions in, I will collect them and share them with Claire at the end of the presentation. We are recording this event and it will go up on YouTube soon, but don't worry, you won't be a part of the recording. So this event is part of a series of coffee nights about global issues. We've talked about all kinds of things: community seed banks, women's rights, children's education, and so much more. We regularly host events, usually online during COVID, so please sign up for our e-newsletter about future events, or you can follow us on social media, and there'll be a link to sign up for our e-newsletter after the event. So who are we? Well, MCIC is a council of about 41 organizations working in international development and cooperation around the world. We also work to talk to and engage with Manitobans on global issues, like the work you're going to hear about tonight. Our vision is simply a just world for all. This event is sponsored in part by funding from Global Affairs Canada, and we're really grateful for their support. So this event tonight is being held during International Development Week. It's held each year during February. This is a time to acknowledge Canadian contributions to poverty reduction and international humanitarian assistance in the Global South, which sometimes is known as the developing countries, the third world. Today, we'll be learning how CODE partners with the Liberian WE-CARE Foundation to offer academic tutoring and mentoring in life skills to adolescent girls in primary school who are at risk of dropping out. And as a nod to I Love to Read Month, which it also is this February, we'll also hear more about their exciting work with Liberian authors and illustrators to develop culturally relevant children's books and spark a love of reading among children across Liberia. So that's going to be really exciting. So I just going to start introducing our speakers so we can hear more about this exciting project. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing and just invite Claire to share her screen and video. So Claire Bolton is a program manager at CODE, formerly known as the Canadian Organization for Development Through Education, which is Canada's leading international development organization focused uniquely on literacy and education. Working with local partner organizations in Liberia and Ghana, Claire is on a mission to help teachers teach better so that students can learn better. Born and raised in Kenya, Claire moved to Canada a decade ago to earn her MA in Globalization and International Development from the University of Ottawa. So I know we're all looking forward to hearing more, so please join me in welcoming Claire. And the way we do that is you can put some plus signs in the chat as applause. So welcome, Claire. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Grace, and thank you, MCIC, for featuring CODE's Reading Liberia program on tonight's edition of Local Brews and Global Views, which is taking place during International Development Week. I would like to also thank those of you tuning in live and those who will view a recording of this later. My name is Claire Bolton, and I am the program manager for the Reading Liberia program. I join you from Ottawa, the unceded traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. And as Grace said, in many parts of Canada, February marks I Love to Read Month. I would like for us to collectively celebrate the joy of reading by asking each of you to think of a book you love to read when you were in grade 1, 2, or 3. Now, imagine yourself at 16 or 17 years old, unable to read that book because you started school late. You started school late because the school building you would have sat in to learn the fundamentals of reading was torn apart during Civil War, and those who were qualified to teach you fled at that time. That is the reality of many Liberian children and youth today. CODE is on a mission to promote every child's right to read, no matter where they live. We are part of a global education movement, specifically the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, number 4, which is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, CODE's roots go back 60 years ago when a group of Canadian educators, librarians, and publishers shipped unused books to countries with few educational resources. Over time, CODE has taken a more comprehensive approach to promoting literacy by giving children access to great teachers and great books. At the heart of this approach is a focus on the unique challenges faced by girls and women in exercising their right to a quality education. We know that when girls are educated, that leads to fewer child marriages, better health, and lessen poverty. and less poverty. Currently, CODE is working in Liberia, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Mozambique, and with a new program expected to launch in Malawi this year. CODE works in partnership with in-country organizations that share our values and vision. In Liberia, we work with the WE-CARE Foundation, who in turn works collaboratively with the Liberian Ministry of Education to certify primary school teachers, and more importantly, to ensure alignment and sustainability of our efforts. Our activities in Liberia currently focus in 3 counties pointed to on this map, and those counties are Monrovia, Bomi, Montserrado, and Margibi counties. Now, Liberia is Africa's oldest modern republic. It was founded in 1822 by freed African slaves from America and the Caribbean. However, indigenous groups make up majority of the population. The challenges in Liberia are many and substantial. 40% of Liberians live on less than $2 a day. An intermittent civil war from 1989 to 2003 left an estimated 270,000 people dead and millions displaced domestically and internationally. Now, Liberia began breaking its way out of those dark times when it proudly elected Africa's first female president, Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, in 2006. She was a big advocate for education, especially girls' education. President Johnson was awarded the 2011 Nobel Peace Prize for her contribution to Liberia's journey towards peace building. She shared this prize with fellow Liberian and peace activist Lima Bowie, who led the Women of Liberia Mass Action for Peace. Now, in education, there have been several major disruptions. When COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic last year, Liberian children and youth yet again saw their learning interrupted. Only 5 years prior, students were kept out of the classrooms for nearly a year following the Ebola virus disease outbreak, which killed nearly 5,000 people. The current pandemic has kept an estimated 2 million Liberian children and youth out of school since March. Schools only fully reopened in January of this year. Now, before COVID hit, Liberia, like many other developing countries, was already facing a learning crisis. Some of the learning key challenges in realizing quality education for all children in Liberia include a lack of trained teachers. Almost a third of teachers in Liberia don't have the minimum required primary school qualification. Another challenge is the lack of learning materials and books in schools. And also, there's a large overage school population. As of 2015, 80% of students were too old for their grade, most being girls. Several contributing factors include high grade repetition because of poor academic performance and starting school late. Now, dismal learning outcomes are captured in literacy assessment scores, including this one conducted by USAID in 2014, whereby 35% of grade 2 students and 17% of grade 3 students scored 0 in oral reading fluency, and 40% of grade 3 students scored 0 in reading comprehension. Now, within CODE project schools, baseline assessments conducted in 2017 and 2018 showed that 66% and 52% of students, respectively, were reading at a pre-primary level. Now, these challenges have only been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Previous health crises, namely Ebola, have taught us that children from poor households, particularly girls, are most at risk of never returning to school without additional support. Now, the Reading Liberia program tackles these challenges by bringing together great teachers and great books. Teachers are trained on student-centered techniques in early grade literacy instruction, as well as on gender-responsive approaches that places an emphasis on encouraging equal participation of girls. This training enhances the minimum nationally recognized teaching qualifications in Liberia. As well, there are the Reading Liberia books. Gone are the days when it was good enough that books in African schools were donated from abroad. Under the Reading Liberia program, 27 titles written and illustrated by librarians have been developed over the last decade. 4 of these titles are now listed as ministry-approved supplementary texts for schools. Now, CODE emphasizes the importance of high-quality, girl-positive, culturally relevant books. The books address other issues too, like caring for the environment and conflict resolution. Earlier this week, I caught up with Liberian illustrator Leslie Lume, who contributed to the Reading Liberia titles. Let's have a listen to a part of that conversation.
So yeah, these books are all over Liberia in many schools.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
they are playing a vital role. Yes.
And you mentioned earlier that books that you had read, you'd find that even though they were authored by Liberian authors, they were usually prior to the Reading Liberia series, that these books would be illustrated abroad, not the Reading Liberia books. But so my question to you is, what difference does it make to have books such as the Reading Liberia books illustrated, having local artists involved in the book development process, in illustrating these books?
It has a very huge impact. It does. It's not just for us as present illustrators or as present day authors. The impact it has is that the readers see themselves, they see their culture, they see they see everything about themselves in the book. They are reading a story that they can relate to. They are reading about a tree that definitely they know the location of that tree. or they are reading about Blama from Grand Cape Mount County. And when they look on the map, on the national map, you see Grand Cape Mount County.
Yes.
So
yes,
you relate. So you know we are talking a story from Cape Mount.
Mm-hmm.
And in the class you may have some students that are from Cape Mount, and the children will just they may throw a joke around one another. Oh, you look like Blama. Oh, you are from Blama's village. So that is identity. You know, they identify themselves with the content of the book, which is very good for them, because it tells them that they are reading something that they know about. They are not reading about. I'm not discussing the science, but they're not talking about atom and galaxies. You know, we can go into that when we get bigger. But for the beginners, they really need to know that what they are reading is right there, and they can touch, they can feel, they can identify, and they understand it. That's one aspect. The other positive angle to this is that you gave the children hope and dream that, oh, this book is written by a Liberian and illustrated by someone I know. Oh, I can write a book. I can write a story. I can write a story. Indeed, the book can become a motivational force. And the children I can draw, they also may be inspired to attempt drawing or to continue in a line, because a place is what makes me to be Leslie today. Whenever I took a book many years ago when I was in way first grade, class 1, class 2, I always look for the name of the illustrator, and I've always wished to be an illustrator. So it really is very powerful. It's powerful that the work is done by local, writers, and illustrated by local artists. It inspires it. The reading that it teaches the children to read and to read and write, and to understand.
Thank you. Thank you for that, technology.
I just wanted to say it's in display mode.
Oh, okay. In that case. Just when you think you figured this out, and let me know once it swaps out.
It's good to go. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So just going back to my previous slide, my apologies. So by giving students access to great teachers and great books, students in Reading Liberia schools have proven to outperform comparison schools. Now, the results of student reading assessments conducted between 2016 and 2019 showed that primary students in grade 1 to 4 showed a 39% improvement in reading comprehension after 9 months compared to 11% in the comparison group. One of the key challenges to education noted earlier is overage enrollment. In the countries where we are presently implementing the Reading Liberia program, or counties rather, the rate of overage girls is as high as 88%. In response to this challenge, CODE and WE-CARE introduced the Girls Accelerated Learning Initiative to support girls aged 12 to 18 who are only in grades 1 to 3. We help them to accelerate their learning so that they can be advanced to an age-appropriate grade or catch up to their peers. This is our 3rd year conducting the program, and we have seen in the most recent year that 75% of the girls were promoted 2 grades in a single year. And as you can see here in the last assessment that we did, girls after 4 months of being in the program, 51% managed to read, at least to accelerate their reading, and they managed to read at or above their grade level. Now, the next phase of GALI was set to begin in July 2020. When it became evident that schools were not reopening in September as planned, CODE pivoted to sustain learning of overage girls at home. In June 2020, the Ministry of Education had given directives for all primary school teachers to prepare lesson packets for grades 1 to 5 students to complete for the remainder of the 2019-20 academic year. However, asking that of unqualified teachers without access to the resources needed to prepare those lesson packets proved to be too much. Kids was simply just not getting these lesson packets. And without any learning materials, we knew that our GALI students would likely not return to school when they reopened. So for 3 months, CODE and WE-CARE stepped in to deliver 375 at-home learning kits to students. And each kit contained an academic workbook with curriculum aligned and grade appropriate material developed by our partner WE-CARE. And each month, a different workbook was distributed with new academic content. Girls also received copies of Reading Liberia books to begin an at-home library, as well as notebooks, pencils, soap, face masks, and sanitary products. And from some of the anecdotal pieces that we received, girls said that they felt a sense of pride in receiving these items, and this gave them the motivation to continue with their learning at home. Now, the impact as well is that 71% of the girls who received the kits, they registered and have returned to school or will soon return to school. Now that schools have reopened, the after-school tutoring and mentoring sessions for our GALI girls will resume. 15 girls will be selected from each of the 25 participating GALI schools. On Mondays through Thursdays, girls will get tutored for 1 hour, and on Fridays, they'll attend a life skills class. CODE and WE-CARE published a teacher guide and accompanying workbook for the life skills class. To the left of this slide is the front cover of the teacher guide, and to the right is a photo of the training sessions conducted in December for teachers to learn how to use the guide and the accompanying student workbook. The life skills class covers a variety of topics of importance to preteens and teens, including puberty, goal setting, and gender-based violence. During the after-school classes, nutritious snacks and sanitary pads will be provided to help the girls attend regularly. We engage with parents and caregivers to ensure they are supporting their girls to make such a big commitment. Now, we'll play a short video from the field for you to learn more about GALI.
Before COVID-19 hit, this would have been a common sight. Teenage girls walking together to school, chatting along the way. Here in Liberia, adolescent girls face many challenges to getting an education. Girls often get a late start and contend with social and cultural pressures that don't impact their male counterparts. The older a girl gets, the greater the risk that she will not complete her schooling. CODE is working with our in-country partner, the WE-CARE Foundation, to help young women in Bomi, Margibi, and Montserrado counties on their way to paving a better road for themselves, their families, and their communities, simply by getting an education. Aretha wants to be a pilot. Sarah has plans to become a nurse. These young women will be more likely to chase their dreams thanks to a program being delivered by CODE.
Our program in Liberia with the Girls Accelerated Learning Initiative, it's all about supporting young girls who have started late in school and to assist them to accelerate. We know for certain that overage girls, and what I'm talking about is 14, 15, 16-year-old girls in grades 1 or 2, we know if they're not able to succeed, if they're not able to advance, they will drop out.
The girls attend a special after-school program where they get extra academic help, receive life skills training, and are mentored by female teachers. Another benefit that this program has to offer is that it allows the girls to gain access to mobile learning labs.
It's not the internet per se, it's not distance learning per se, but it does offer the next best thing. We're able to load up the hard drives with content, and in the schools, the students are able to access it through tablets, which are provided as part of the project. It provides a whole realm of possibilities in terms of content-rich resources, allows them to be together, and it allows them, I think what I'm particularly interested in, it allows them to build their reading skills. We want them to become readers and all the benefits that come along with that, to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and learners.
The mobile learning labs consist of a small suitcase filled with 5 7-inch tablets, a small solar charging system, and a rechargeable server called a Rachel Plus. The server, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, can hold up to 500 gigabytes of open source, high-quality offline content. This content can be custom loaded for each community's particular needs and can be modified at a distance at any time by simply hooking up the Rachel Plus to an internet connection where available in a larger city.
Yes, at my school we are having a wonderful experience in that the students then they are able to access their tablet. It makes them to read faster. Some of them never knew how to read, but now because of the usage of the tablet, they can read faster. All of their lesson notes, reading, science, mathematics, they are able to watch videos that they will be able to watch, pay attention and listen, and follow the instructions from the video. For the part of the teacher, we had a wonderful experience in that. The teacher is learning the work of the teacher because the teacher don't have to write lesson notes on the board.
Most days, the girls are concentrating in their classroom, and low whispers can be heard across the room as each student reads at her own pace.
My favorite part about Kanye is reading. Because when we read on the tablet, it makes our reading skill to grow up. Also, our teacher takes some vocabulary words and also grow up our reading skills.
Sarah is 14 years old and has been a Gali participant for 2 years. Before the program, she says she couldn't study at home and was failing. She says the biggest plus of the after-school program is the extra time the teacher takes with students to go over the lessons. The use of technology in the classroom is a big hit at home as well.
When I tell my parents I was using tablet in school, they were happy because since my mother born, she never see tablet and she never use it. I use it to go and teach me about it, so they were happy, they were encouraging me to come to school on time.
The after-school program is currently supporting 375 overage girls. But the demand is great because the program is achieving wonderful results. Our most recent assessments show that 75% of girls were promoted 2 grade levels in 1 year, and 22% were promoted by a single grade.
The schools want it, the students want it. I also think with the trend of the world that it is important for teachers and students to have skills in technology, that they can be able to access further content using digital means.
At the end of the day, smiles from young, eager learners tell a much larger story about feelings of empowerment, a renewed interest in learning, and hope for the future. And with the support of CODE donors, we hope to scale this program to meet the tremendous demand that exists for accelerating the learning of overage girls.
Thank you, Grace. I think we're all set.
Yep.
Okay, so this here, is the workbook that I had mentioned earlier that the girls will be using as part of the life skills component of GALI. And in the video, you heard about the mobile learning labs. And this is a really exciting addition to our program in Liberia. We will be piloting in 10 out of the 25 GALI schools. Each of those schools will receive a kit that contains 5 tablets, a solar charging system, and a rechargeable server that was mentioned, the Rachel. This piece of equipment, which can fit in the palm of your hand, can hold up to 1 terabyte of open source offline content. For those of us who binge watched at the beginning of COVID, when the COVID pandemic hit, that's the equivalent of 500 hours worth of movies. Now, to understand the impact of digital technology on academic success, life skills knowledge, and attitudes towards gender, CODE is conducting a study that will follow the group of GALI girls who will have access to these mobile learning labs and those without over a period of a year and a half. The results of that research will be published in mid-2023, and we look forward to sharing that with this group. That is it for today. We really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to all the questions and comments. I see that there are quite a number of comments and questions that have come up. And before we move on to that, I'd like to thank MCIC for hosting this event and for supporting the Reading Liberia program through the Manitoba Government Matching Grant Program. And also a big shout out to 60 Million Girls, the Tutoring Foundation, the International Book Bank, the Manitoba Teacher Society, and many, many others who have faithfully supported Reading Liberia over the years. We are so very grateful for your partnership in helping children realize their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. I just wanted to say that if people want to enter your questions, this is the way to do it. You just click this box and put your questions in. But I wanted to start with a question. I was wondering if you could share more about why it was important to support the creation of Liberian children's books. I know you spoke about it a little bit, but could you elaborate? Like, why was it so important to make sure Liberian kids had Liberian books?
Oh, most certainly. So I know I'm a mom of two boys, and from day one, I introduced them to books. And I have seen how just by them having access to these books, they just pick them up on their own. And by just having something that is available like that, we can encourage a love for reading. As Leslie Dumaine mentioned, having books that are mirrors, because that's what books can be. They can be both mirrors and windows. Having books that children can see themselves in encourages that habit of reading. I know for myself, when I first joined CODE, I picked up a book. This is the time when CODE had a literary award, and it included some of the winning titles came from Kenya, where I'm from. Picking up a book and seeing names that were shared names of people from my community, it just gave me a sense of pride. And I said to myself, wow, I wish I had these books when I was coming up. And how wonderful it is that these books that are mirrors to these children are available. And I mentioned earlier that the war really left the education system in Liberia in bits and pieces. The thought of finding a book, let alone a standing library or a school, was something you could take for granted. Those resources are not available. And so when CODE and WE-CARE Foundation stepped in, it was really starting from scratch. This idea of developing content, having local authors and local illustrators, we realize that it's a key ingredient in promoting a love for reading among kids.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I can totally understand that. So I'm just thinking about the fact that it's International Development Week. And one of the goals of International Development Week is to help Canadians understand why this kind of work is so important. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about, why you do the work that you do. What impact do you think literacy has really on these communities?
I mean, literacy is really at the core of any sort of development. It affects your health. It affects your ability to generate income. And so without this very basic, without the access to education, opportunities are limited. Africa is a very young continent. And unfortunately, there are so many who do not have access to high quality education. There has been a ramp up to access. There has been a lot of effort, and governments have put a lot of effort into making particularly primary school free in the sense that you're not paying tuition. However, there are those nominal costs that do keep the poorest of the poorest out of school. And so what has happened is that we've seen an influx of students in the classroom, but not an equal, initially, there hasn't been the same ramp up of provision of qualified teachers to teach these children. And so without that quality education, as I said, even being able to read a medicine bottle to know, oh, am I giving my child the right amount of, of medication? That's something you can't take for granted. I know for myself, the opportunities that I've been granted professionally have come from through my education, my ability to read. And so if Africa is to develop itself, it needs a literate population. There is no question about it.
Thank you. There's just some comments in the chat. Some people saying, thank you very much, wonderful work. And people are really interested in how you're working around the COVID crisis. In the chat, someone's just asking, where was Rachel developed, the program? How widespread is it used in Liberia and other parts of Africa by CODE or others, if you know?
Rachel is a server that is developed by a non-for-profit organization based in the US and California. And in terms of its widespread use, I believe the last stats that they made available is possibly maybe 50 something countries, but that's not all in Africa. It's also in Latin America. And the benefit of this is that it basically makes the internet available offline. So in countries where connectivity is a challenge, these kids are not shut out. And even the teachers, it gives them access to teaching materials, resources that they can then apply in the classroom. As part of Gali, a key component is curating the content. And so, for issues or topics like, menstruation, being able to include or upload games that would teach the girls on what menses are about and how to take care of oneself, and for them not to be ashamed of it and learn that it's a very natural process. And as I said earlier, I said that a lot of these girls are overage. They are of menstruation age. So it's a really useful piece of equipment. We're bringing the internet to those girls and boys. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. It's such a cool idea and a great program to think that it can be sort of offline and accessible, and even the way it's powered and stuff. I found that really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else is just wondering, what are some of the challenges in getting the girls to attend the after school programs?
Of course. So a key challenge is because you're asking these girls to attend the after school class, it's after school. So they may have chores or even just hunger, like they don't have food. So what we've done is including nutritious snacks for them to eat, as well just encouragement from parents. And so part of what we're doing with Undergali is including family engagement to advocate and encourage and teach parents and caregivers the importance of allowing their daughters, nieces to attend these sessions that will help them catch up on their learning and therefore be able to be promoted to a more appropriate grade. Yes, so one of the main challenge is, yes, just awareness of the importance of girls' education and poverty, something just as simple as having a banana to eat to help you stay in school and concentrate. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thank you. Someone's just asking if you could speak more about the study you're doing on the Gali. When will it be released?
Mm-hmm. So we are actually going to start the baseline, conducting the baseline this month, and we will conduct a midline in August, September, right before some of the girls are before the end of the current academic year in Liberia, and then we will do an end line towards June 2023. So there are 3 stages, of which we'll be following the same girls as long as they're within grade 1 and 3. So majority of them will be the same. Those ones who graduate into grade 4 will be promoted out of the program. And so we expect to have that study available sometime in 2023.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to hearing more about that when it's released. There's a couple more questions coming in here. People have lots of great questions. Someone's just asking, how active is the WE-CARE Foundation in the CODE program? So I guess maybe a bit more about your relationship and how active they are and how it all works.
Mm-hmm. WE-CARE is very well linked to national and local organizations that are involved in the education sector. So they are accredited to train teachers, to train primary school teachers. And so they play a big role. We have partnered with them since 2009. All the Reading Liberia books that have been published, they've been co-published with WE-CARE. WE-CARE is called upon by the Ministry of Education on various issues, and they're a key stakeholder in Liberia.
That's great. Sounds like a very interesting partnership that you have with them. Someone just commenting on the fact that, it mentioned in the presentation that there were 375 spots in the Gali. They're just wondering, do you have an idea how many you want to expand that to? Like how high would you like to go? How many would you like to offer students?
We would love to offer up to as many as possible. I can say that at the 2021 enrollment records that we've received, they're up to 975 overage girls in the 25 schools that we're presently in, and this goes all the way up to grade 6. And so there is a great need for this type of programming, and so we welcome any support to enable us to expand this opportunity, much needed opportunity for those girls.
Yeah, I think you'd like to help as many girls as possible.
Indeed, indeed.
There's just someone put a comment in the chat that I thought I'd share, that they were involved with the Canadian Teachers Federation project overseas, and that's how they first heard about CODE. So I think they're saying they have a connection to the works. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. There's another question here, someone asking if you have any statistics to show the success of girls advancing in their education to further education, whether that's the next levels or post-secondary, or if you heard any stories about that.
Now, Gali, this is the third year. We piloted it and in 2017, and it's focused primarily grades 1 to 3. We as part of further on, as we expand, and definitely part of our summative evaluation, we'll try to look for those girls, do a tracer study of those girls who were in the first phase to see how far along they've gotten to in their education. I can say that from some of the anecdotal evidence that we've received, some girls have gone at least up to grade 6, so they should be finishing primary school and hopefully move on to what's called junior high school.
That's excellent. So you're certainly increasing the number of years they're in school and the quality of what they receive. That's great. Someone's just asking if you have a story you might be able to share of how a specific girl has been impacted through CODE's work. I know there are a couple of girls in the video, but is there someone that comes to mind that you may have heard a story of how one particular girl was impacted?
For sure.
This is a test question.
It means that that our viewers are listening intently, so it's good. I can say, as part of the at-home learning kits, what we did is not just deliver these at-home kits. We had our partner WE-CARE actually followed up with call the girls and see how they were doing. Check up on their welfare, see if how they were, if they were able to complete, if they're having any problems in completing their workbooks. And so some of the issues that came up is, and one girl in particular, her family was considering having her initiated into a secret society in which female genital mutilation is performed. And so just by being present, just by calling and checking in, WE-CARE was able to at least, they were alerted to that and are therefore following up with the girl. Now, as to whether she's going back to school, I don't have that specific answer at this time, but I can say just by us following up with the girls, even while schools were closed, the girls are motivated, and we are gained more awareness as to what are the challenges they're facing. And also, just by receiving these sanitary products during school closures, we heard girls would just walk around with their heads held high because they could see other girls in their community not receiving that kind of support. And I believe that's why we're seeing at least 75% of those indicating that they have enrolled for the current academic year.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think sometimes here we can underestimate what an intervention like that, just having access to sanitary supplies, that can do for a girl, much less access to this kind of education. So that's excellent. Someone's curious about the books that are developed. So they're wondering if you could share a little bit more about how they're developed, how local authors were involved, and what impact that's had. They said you shared an example of the illustrator. Also, there's a second part to the question. What's teacher feedback been having access to these books? So I guess they want to hear a little bit more about how local authors were involved in the impact and what the teacher feedback has been.
Now, at the onset, CODE hosted several workshops, author and illustrator workshops, in order to, because what we found is that although individuals could write a story, there is a particular skill that's needed to write a book at an appropriate reading level. And so through several workshops, that skill was developed. Same with illustrators. A lot of Liberians are self-taught artists, and a lot of them do, abstract art, not necessarily children's illustration. And so what we did is provided them these workshops where they got the training to know, oh, this is how, the illustration needs to move a story forward. This is the types of illustrations that would be attractive to a child or a youth. So yes, there's been a lot of intensive workshops that has gone into the development of these books. We've had editors who, of course, who have, CODE has a multitude of editors, Canadian editors who've volunteered their time to support the development of these books, and we are indebted to that. And the children in Liberia absolutely love these books. Teachers apply these books, as I mentioned earlier. 4 of those titles have been included in the Ministry of Education approved list of supplementary readers. And so yes, they are a hit, as that one boy who read Blama's Dream, that's illustrated by Leslie Lumet. Leslie said to me, oh, this kid came running to me and said, hey, you're the guy who's in the back of this book. and so yes, these books are well loved by teachers and students alike.
That's excellent. Someone else is just asking about the sort of life skills component. What kinds of life skills are they taught? And could you share a bit more about that?
So some of the life skills that are covered in this includes how to set goals. A lot of times what we girl may think that, oh, my goal is to, or she may be led to believe, just because of, cultural norms, oh, it's to get married. And so what we do is, as part of this life skills, girls are gonna be taught that, oh, there are steps to setting goals. It could be you completing grade 2 or grade 3, and what's the process for that? How do you get accountability partners who can support you in that? Other types of life skills include communication skills, being able to set boundaries, healthy boundaries. So those are some of the topics that are covered, and the teachers who will be facilitating these. The Gali component is these teachers received their training back in December to know how to engage these girls in these kinds of topics. And the workbooks are not it's not a notebook where you're copying your answers. The workbooks have been designed for girls to be able to reflect and learn. There are exercises that they can do at home and come back at the next Gali class and share with the group as is appropriate.
That's great. This last question is kind of a personal one. It says, what do you like about the work that you do? What drives you to do this work daily, to keep going?
Oh, yes. I am a child of Africa, and CODE's programming is at this time mainly focused in Africa, and I love books. And so immediately the joy that comes from reading books, I want my fellow brothers and sisters to be able to experience that, and to also realize their own potential. Each human being that is on this earth has a gift and a purpose that they are to pour out. But without education, unfortunately, we won't be able to benefit. The world will not be able to benefit from their skills and their passion. That's what gets me going every day. Yes.
Yeah. That's a powerful reason, powerful motivation to do the work and to keep going. Thank you for sharing. Well, I wanted to thank everyone for these excellent questions. And just to comment, CODE has offered to share 25 copies of one of their Reading Liberia books with 25 of our participants today. So someone after the event is going to go through the list of attendees and pull out 25 names, and they'll email you. So if you get an email from my colleague Jane at MCIC, we'll send you the information of who to contact at CODE to get your copy. So if you get an email, you know it's from us, and you can have your very own copy of one of these books. I think that's really exciting. So thanks to CODE for sharing some of your books with some of the Canadians on the call today. I just wanted to also say, if you enjoyed this presentation, just to stay tuned for our next Local Brews and Global Views. You can watch our social media for updates, or go to the link I'm putting in the chat to see our upcoming events. Our next event coming up is a live online evening with an author on February 23rd at 7 p.m. in Central Time, featuring Nagan James Sinclair sharing about the graphic novel This Place, 150 Years Retold. So you can find a link about that on there. And we'll also be sending out a short survey about the event. It's just to help us learn more, get some feedback, do things better every time. So please let us know. But I would just like you to put some plus signs in the chat as your applause if you enjoyed tonight's talk, and that'll be our applause and appreciation for you, Claire. Thank you so much for sharing the stories of this work and these girls, and for all your, I can see your passion for this work, and to see these girls succeed. So thanks everyone for attending, and there's lots of applause going by in the chat. I hope you can see it, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye
Thanks,
for now.
everyone. Good night.
Good night.